Patrick-Goudreau from joyfulvegan.com. Welcome to Vegan Point of View. The question I get more than any other question is, what do you feed your cats? Or is it okay to feed cats and dogs a vegan diet? And so I give you my point of view. Many people are concerned about what to feed their dogs and cats, particularly once they become vegetarian or vegan, and they start to question the ethics of supporting the slaughter industry. It's a dilemma for many of us, and I have just one piece of advice: adopt a rabbit. They're herbivores. You can share all of your wonderfully nutritious plant foods with them, and you don't have to worry about this ethical dilemma. Okay, so that was easy, nice and short. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. I wish it were that easy. I wish it were that easy. Now, of course, rabbits definitely need homes, and if you can open your heart and your home to some buns, then please do. But I'm being glib when I say that it's the solution to the problem at hand. Me adopting a rabbit doesn't answer the larger question of what to feed domestic cats, whether you're vegan or not. Now, before I continue, I want to make a couple things very clear. First, I am not a veterinarian, even though it was my first calling. I am just giving you my opinion, not medical advice. Second, what I am sharing with you is my experience. I'm not telling anyone what to do. I'm not telling anyone what not to do. I'm not saying what's right or wrong for everyone. Some of you may disagree with me. That's fine. You have your opinion. I'm not presenting doctrine here. I am presenting what I think, my point of view, based on my own experience. Okay, so here's the scoop. Dogs do really, really well on a vegan diet. Dogs physiologically are omnivores, and most thrive on a plant-based diet. I say most because some might have some issues. There might be some issues with allergens, and some vegan dog foods may contain allergens, such as corn or wheat, though there are a number of commercial vegan dog foods that don't. So it's just a matter of finding the right food if that issue arises. But in general, dogs do great, and any vet who tells you otherwise is simply misinformed. Now, if your dog is currently eating meat, I do recommend transitioning him or her slowly by incorporating the new food, the new vegan food, into his or her diet little by little. But there really isn't much more to say about that. There are many brands of vegan dog food in large and small pet stores and, of course, online. So have at it. Cats, on the other hand, are a different story. Unlike humans or dogs, they are obligate carnivores, and they have very high protein requirements because they're obligate carnivores. Unlike omnivores and herbivores, their bodies don't make the vitamins and amino acids. Amino acids are just the building blocks of protein. Their bodies don't make these amino acids, and so it's imperative they consume these amino acids from their diet. They don't require plant foods in their diet, though they do tend to consume some when they eat the stomach contents of their prey, or if they're my cat Charlie, who loves tortilla chips and bread and popcorn. So he does get some plant foods. Michko, not so much. And as much as I hate it, I feed Charlie and Michko, my cats, animal-based meat. Now, I know there are some people who disagree with this, but I feel as comfortable as one can in this crazy world of contradictions and imperfections. While there are many anecdotal tales of cats thriving on a 100% vegan diet, I'm so glad for that. I'm not comfortable feeding my cats a 100% vegan diet, and here's why. When I first became vegan, about 17 years ago, I didn't want to contribute, I still don't want to contribute in any way to the inherent violence of the slaughter industry. And so, right away, once I became vegan, I started feeding my cats at the time, Simon and Schuster, who have since passed, a 100% vegan diet. The first issue I encountered was that it was really difficult to get them to eat the food. This was a commercial vegan cat food I was feeding them, and meal times just became really, really stressful, which isn't pleasant for anyone. I could not put enough nutritional yeast on their food. All my cats have always loved nutritional yeast, but I couldn't put enough nutritional yeast on the food to entice them to eat it. Keeping my cats safe from harm, keeping them happy, keeping them healthy, making sure they're getting all of the nutrients and calories they need to thrive is pretty much my number one priority when it comes to their well-being. And having to fight them to eat every meal kind of negates all of these goals. Forcing them to eat or watching them eat very little probably would have been enough for me to cease feeding them vegan. But after a couple months, I ultimately put them back on meat when, out of the blue, Schuster, who was only about 5 at the time, came down with what's called Addison's disease, which almost killed him. Our vet had the hardest time diagnosing him because it's just really rare in cats. It's in humans, it's in dogs, but it's very rare in cats. He was having seizures, which was really frightening to witness. And when we finally got a diagnosis, we realized it was Addison's. Now, I will never know for sure what caused Schuster's Addison's disease. It's hormonal. I'm not saying that it was caused by not eating meat, but needing to make sure that he got all the nutrients he needed and the pills that he needed to keep him alive, basically, was priority for me. Schuster needed to take prednisone for the rest of his life because his adrenal glands stopped producing the hormones, particularly cortisol, that we all need, and so I had to make sure that he ate well and was getting all of his nutrients, and of course was getting this pill. That's what was priority because he was this little being that I am taking care of, and so back on a meat diet he went. In addition, since both Simon and Schuster and now one of my cats, Charlie, were male, that was another concern. One of the potential problems that we know about regarding feeding cats a 100% vegan diet is the risk of what's called feline urologic syndrome, FUS, or feline urinary tract disease. Male cats are more prone to this than females. It basically occurs when crystals form in the bladder and they're unable to be passed through the urethra. And it's more common in males than females because males' urethras are much more narrow than that of females. And I have witnessed cats passing these crystals, these stones, these little stones, and it is horrific. It's just incredibly painful. It's like if we pass stones. It's fatal if it's not caught because, of course, the urine can back up into the bladder, infection can form, and they can die. In an emergency situation, a cat is usually catheterized, which is quite an ordeal in itself. I know because I've done it several times with cats. And a 100% vegan diet, even one that's supplemented with taurine and other essential nutrients, amino acids, often means, even with the supplementation, often means that their urine is more alkaline than acidic, which leads to crystals forming. Simon and Schuster had already been prone to FUS. They both developed it a couple years before when I decided to foster a little kitten from the shelter I was volunteering at. And the problem is I didn't ask Simon and Schuster if that was okay with them, and their little bodies just rebelled and they both got blocked. It was just kind of their stress reaction to this little cat being brought in. Schuster passed his crystals, which was torture to hear and witness. He was screaming. It was awful, but he passed his crystals, and Simon had to be catheterized. In fact, after a few more times being blocked, Simon got blocked several times after that, including once when he was on the vegan food. I discovered that if Simon was overly stressed or ate dry food, or in that one instance when he was on vegan food, he got blocked. And so I changed what I could. I stopped feeding him dry food. I tried to keep him stress-free, even though he was high maintenance. And I returned both of them to a diet that kept their urine more acidic, i.e. meat. And neither of them got blocked ever again. Now, I have 2 other cats, a female, Michko, aka Princess Michko, and another male, Charlie, aka Sir Charles, and many other nicknames. And honestly, I'm not taking the chance with them. Based on what I learned in that experience, based on that experience with Simon and Schuster, and that's all we have when we make decisions. We have experience and we have information. I apply that experience and information to how I care for these cats who are in my care now. That means I feed them both canned food. I never feed them dry food. The only dry food they get is in the form of treats. It's not even that much. And for my own arbitrary reasons, I feed them seafood, not land animals. The food that I feed them, it's a commercial food. It's a variety of fish, some of which is most certainly farm raised, some of which is most certainly wild caught. And of course, in terms of the commercial food I buy for them, I make sure that it doesn't contain byproducts. A lot of the cheaper, lower grade generic brands and other brands, even not generic brands, use a lot of byproducts, and you can see it right on the label. These byproducts include U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA grade 4D meat, which stands for dead, dying, disabled, and diseased animals, as well as filler, which is usually in the form of corn, which is difficult for many cats to ingest, even though Charlie loves corn too, so that wouldn't be an issue for him. But I do recommend a higher quality brand. And of course, I'm not saying that it's higher quality from the standpoint of the animal who was killed. I'm saying it's higher quality from the standpoint of what my cats are consuming. Now, I've mentioned nutritional yeast already. I do sprinkle nutritional yeast on their food at almost every meal. They love it, and I've busted Charlie. I have a photo of it, actually. I should put it up, of Charlie like with his paw in the jar, like scooping out nutritional yeast and eating it. So they get it almost every meal. It's not for any nutritional reason. They just really love it. And if you ever need to get medication into your dog or cat, try sprinkling a little nutritional yeast on their food. See if they like it, and make sure you save some for your own popcorn, because I never eat popcorn without it, and I eat popcorn almost on a daily basis. And Charlie never eats my popcorn without it either. For those of you who also don't feel comfortable feeding your cats 100% vegan, but also hate contributing to the meat industry, I do think there's a little bit of a compromise we can make, a little bit of a compromise solution. You could supplement the meat you feed your cats with some vegan food to at least cut down on some of the meat that you buy. Personally, I wouldn't do more than a 25% to 75% ratio, quarter of the food, like 25% vegan food and 75% meat. I'm very concerned, as I said, about the urine being acidic. So you can try that, though. You can try 25% vegan food and 75% animal-based meat, and it cuts down somewhat on the meat you have to buy. Another solution, it's not happening anytime soon, but it's one of the reasons I'm in favor of in vitro meat. I think it's going to be a really hard sell for human consumers, but if in vitro meat was found to be safe for our carnivorous kitties and made a considerable reduction in the number of animals killed for pet food, I think it's a viable solution. Anyway, if you're currently feeding your cats a 100% vegan diet and you are working with your vet to ensure they're healthy, that's fantastic. I love to hear about stories where it's working. I'm not here to judge anyone or call anyone out or tell you what to do. I realize it is not a perfect situation, but this is a pretty imperfect world, and we do the best we can with the information we have. I have two pretty awesome little beings in my care, and I'm going to do the best I can to create a safe place for them and to care for them as best I can. I think we always have to remember that being vegan is about not contributing to violence against animals where we have the power to do so, where it's practical and where it's possible. For instance, humans thrive on a 100% vegan diet, so there's no reason why we all shouldn't make that change. But based on my experience and the information I have, I'm not confident it's the best thing for my cats. For humans, vegan all the way. For dogs, vegan all the way. For rabbits and horses and cattle, well, they can eat some meat. They can eat other animals. I'm kidding. Sounds a little cockamamie though, doesn't it? Making herbivores eat meat. It's a little weird. One of the topics that often leads to this topic of vegan cats is whether or not it's inhumane or even vegan to have companion animals at all. So that's something I see come up a lot when this topic comes up, but that will have to wait for another day. Until then, give your dogs and cats and bunnies and whatever critters you share your home and life with an extra hug for me. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you got anything out of this video and you think it would be helpful for others, please share it. Give this video a thumbs up. Share your respectful comments below. Subscribe to this channel, and please support the production of these videos by becoming a supporter. You can go to joyfulvegan.com to do so, or you can even click somewhere on the screen and do so. Check out other Vegan Point of View episodes, as well as my podcast, Food for Thought, and my books, whatever, for lots of information on these topics and more. For the animals, this is Colleen Patrick-Goudreau. Thanks for watching.